I'm not gonna lie, the McLaren, it's starting to grow on me. Personally, I'm a Ferrari guy. I've always been that way since I was young. My dream car is a Ferrari Enzo. It's literally my phone wallpaper. McLarens, I gotta give it to them. They've been doing pretty good in Formula One, and I think they're cool cars, don't get me wrong. I just think that the main issue stems from the fact that it's just too repetitive. Or shall I say, they're always releasing new models again and again. And you look at the competitors like a Porsche 911, for example, or Ferrari and Lamborghini, they'll release one model of car and they'll ride that train for as long as they can, whether it's like 8 to 10 years, and they'll keep making improvements, release special editions of the same car. You look at like the 458 and they rode that train for a while before they went to the 488 and the F8. Same thing could be said for Lamborghini. Especially with their V12 series, they only release a new model every so often. And I think with McLaren, especially some of the McLaren owners that I've met personally, I think the biggest gripe on their end is, they buy like a 765 LT. If you even look at the 720, they release so many frequent models that there's a frustration because you want to have the nicest car, you want to have the best product that's offered through a manufacturer, right? You kind of lose the aspect of that because there's just so many new models getting released again and again and again. So, yeah, but I mean, all things considered, I think McLarens are cool cars. When you play car games like this, it definitely not the same experience as being able to drive one in real life. You kind of gain an appreciation for these cars. So, you need money to have these cars, of course, and it's one of those things where I ask myself that question as well. It's like, would I buy a McLaren or a Ferrari or any of these cars if I had the money to do so? And I think to unravel that question, you kind of have to dive into, my nature as a person. And that is that I'm a car guy. I've been a car guy since I was a kid. I played car video games growing up. I think it's probably the one luxury in life that I'll probably be spending a lot of money on. I have a lot of friends growing up with them. They kind of shared the same sentiment. They're like, okay, let's make some money and let's buy mods or let's upgrade our car and stuff like that. While this is something that I do enjoy and I do encourage, because if you're a car guy, if you love cars like me and if you get it, you know what I'm talking about. There's always that thing in the back of your mind that, okay, I'm going to make this much money and then I'll own this car and then I'll make this much money and I'll end up buying this car. But in a world where we want to create wealth and do stuff like that, you have to hold yourself accountable. And I figured I'd kind of share on this topic. Let's not go to extremes. Let's start off with somebody that makes 100K a year, right? I have plenty of peers that are in that position. I'll be fully transparent. I'm not exactly at that point, but I'm coming up pretty close. Blessed to say that I'm in that position, but things weren't always that way. If you're like me and you can relate, growing up, we didn't really have a whole lot of money. When you don't have money growing up, you have a tendency to want to desire these nice things in life. And you want to treat yourself because growing up, we always heard no. Don't do this, don't do that. We cannot afford this. And once you get a little bit of money to play with, it really opens up those doors and it feels good. It feels good to treat yourself, guys. Outside of cars, I'm somebody that loves traveling. Career-wise, I actually work as an internal auditor. So I actually travel a lot anyways. And when I'm traveling, I try to create other experiences for myself. It doesn't even necessarily have to be while I'm working, but I'll try to squeeze in like little trips. So if I'm traveling somewhere for work, I guess a good example is Montreal. I'm going to Montreal soon for work and I'm going to be attending a Formula One race. That costed money. I did get the tickets pretty reasonable, I'd say. I ended up paying $500 for 2 tickets. So it's not terrible, but stuff like that, it just adds up over time. In 2024, I definitely feel like I did travel a lot. I went to a lot of NBA games. I love basketball. I've been watching the playoffs and it's, I think OKC is going to go all the way. But yeah, in 2024, I had to really take a step back once all was said and done and do a self-audit and say that, man, I'm really blowing through a lot of money. A lot of the friends that I grew up with around me kind of have that same type of background. They didn't really grow up with that money. And now, once they have it, they're like, hey, let's buy nice things. Let's spend money on cars. A lot of the guys I hang out with are car guys, so they're in the same boat as me. That's something that you really have to ask yourself. Because I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and like I said, this guy's making like 6 figures a year, but he's still broke. He tells me that he's just tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, why is he even living paycheck to paycheck in the first place? Because he spends a lot of his money, a lot of his disposable income on cars. and traveling and experiences. He lives in like downtown Chicago and he pays a lot for where he stays. He wants to get cool experiences out of life, and we all have that in the back of our mind. Like, let's create these cool experiences for ourselves, and we want to spend that money. But if your spending habits don't change as time goes along, it doesn't matter if you're making 100K a year, it doesn't matter if you're making 500K a year. You're going to just keep on blowing through that money. You have to really be able to sit down and take corrective action. You got to start spending less. You got to live below your means. Think of it like you got to make this short-term sacrifice in order to be able to enjoy things later in life. You know, it comes with just living an overall simplified lifestyle. Stop going out to eat so much. I think going out to eat is like, that's the brutal one right there. Because that's the silent killer. That one just like stacks. It hits you like a truck. You don't even realize it coming. You know, in my case, I've been doing meal preps. I've been trying to limit how much I go out to eat and stuff like that. Sure, when it's weekends, you know, that's a good opportunity for me to kind of get out of the house and experience something different. I try to limit what I do with my money and still try to give time to stuff that's fun for myself. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I love cars, and I used to own a Nissan Skyline. I've owned a Lamborghini in the past. So I've spent like a lot of money on cars at some point. Right now, I'm daily driving a 2007 Mercedes E550. I love that thing because I'm a big V8 guy. My project car is a Camaro. It's a 1995 Camaro Z28, and I just like finished buying up all the stuff that I'm going to need to work on the car, like jack stands, a jack, and stuff like that. I used to have a bunch of tools, and you know, when you're the eldest of three brothers, you know, your younger brothers will borrow your stuff and they'll lose it. So I kind of lost stuff along the way. I ended up moving last year, so I'm starting to stock up on all the stuff that I needed to work on cars and stuff like that. So I'm slowly working towards those things, but I'm not like eager to upgrade to the next best car. I think I'm happy with what I have right now. So just working on the Mercedes, being able to work on the Camaro, that is what keeps me happy. So I haven't necessarily neglected my passion. I haven't thrown stuff that I like spending money on out the window, but I'm doing it in a more reasonable fashion. And you have to ask yourself that question. What is it that you love? Maybe you love going to the range and you spend a lot of money on ammo. I know this has gotten crazy since COVID, right? Stuff has just gone absolutely berserk when it comes to like ammo and just even registering firearms and stuff like that. Or you're like me and you love traveling. Traveling is super expensive. You have to like dial down on these things. You have to stop buying like every video game that comes out. I love gaming. I'm a gamer, and I have a bad habit of like, if I have like a list of video games I want to play and I get paid, I'll just like buy them all up. And you got to like avoid that. You got to avoid that trap of just like spending as soon as you get a little bit of money. You have to put that monitor on yourself. And you have to realize that there's better ways that that money can be spent. I think the one thing that I didn't halt on, and the thing that many people might share this as well, is it feels good to spend money on people you love. So for me, being able to take my family out to dinner or being able to just take care of stuff for them really brings me like this internal satisfaction. And I love that. And that's something that, you know, regardless of whatever ambitions I have regarding money, how much I want to save and stuff like that, I never want to neglect that aspect of life. I want to be able to always provide for my family and give them those experiences. You know, live in that balance. Find what works for you and don't neglect your hobbies outright. Just learn how to put a cap on them. Learn how to limit. I'll make a reference to cars. You turbo a Honda Civic, right? You get it tuned. You have everything done to it. You're not going to push the maximum PSI on that build. You're going to set some hard caps. You're going to set some limits so you can enjoy it in a reliable fashion, right? So that's the same type of sentiment that you have to carry with, you know, other things as well. I know that's kind of a goofy analogy to make, but that's what came to mind, so we'll stick with that for now. This is the year, guys. 2025 is your year to really put a cap on not spending so much money. If you're somebody that's in a position that you're making 100K a year or even more, you should feel blessed, but also do realize that it really isn't how much you make, it's how much you keep. I'd much rather be the person that's making 50K a year and getting to hold on to 25K at the end when all is said and done, than to be that person that's earning 150K a year and I'm spending 170, because people go into debt as well. You swipe on your credit card left and right and you lose track of time, you lose track of everything. So don't be that person. Don't put yourself in that position. I feel like this is our year. Let's focus on those side hustles. Let's start investing in the stock market. If you're somebody that's in a position that can get some real estate or look into things like Airbnb arbitrage, I know that's pretty hot right now. Definitely capitalize on that because you make those sacrifices today, it's going to pay dividends in the long run. And we got to plant those seeds now. And it will take time. I always look at that analogy when it comes to whether it's your business or whether it's money. It's like planting little seeds. You could give it all the water you want, you could give it all the sunlight you want. It will just take time. It takes time to get the things that you want in life. But when you capitalize on the opportunity at hand, once those things come around, it's like sweet fruit. It's going to feel so much better and it's going to come at the right time and you're ultimately going to value it so much more. So let's get it in 2025 and let's take advantage of all these things because we don't want to be in a position where we're earning 100K a year and we're broke or even a million and we're broke. And it happens. You best believe there's millionaires out there that are quote unquote broke. So it's not how much you earn, it's how much you keep.